Hey everyone! Recently, the long-awaited Pyro Archon, Mavuika, made her debut in the game. I've had the chance to play her for a week, and I have plenty to share with you. Is Mavuika the strongest character in the game? What team comps allow her to deal millions of damage? And is she worth pulling for? Let's break it all down, step by step. Skills Mavuika is a versatile character who can excel as both a sub-DPS and a main DPS. As a sub-DPS, she deals additional off-field damage, applies elemental statuses for reactions, and buffs other characters. When used as a main DPS, Mavuika hops on her blazing cycle and unleashes devastating damage. Let's take a closer look at her abilities. Elemental skill, O Quick Tap, summons a ring that follows the active character and deals AoE pyro damage every 2 seconds to nearby enemies. This ability works particularly well with other Natlan characters like Kinich, Mualani, or Chaska, enhancing their damage. O Hold, Mavuika mounts her blazing cycle, which infuses her normal, charged, and plunging attacks with pyro damage. The infusion cannot be overridden by other elements. Aside from dealing damage, the blazing cycle allows her to traverse Tevat, riding across land, flying, and even climbing mountains. The skill has a 15-second cooldown, but you can switch between the ring and the cycle at any time. Elemental Burst. Unlike most characters, Mavuika doesn't use energy to activate her burst. Instead, she relies on Battle Spirit, which can be restored in 2 ways. Dealing damage with normal attacks, restores small amounts. Spending Night Spirit points, hers or her teammates. Mavuika can store up to 200 Battle Spirit points, but activating her burst requires at least 100 points. However, Mavuika herself can only generate 90 points, meaning she needs a Natlan character with Night Spirit to provide the rest. Her Constellation 1 resolves this issue by increasing her cap to 120 points. Her burst deals massive AoE pyro damage and enhances both her burst damage and blazing cycle damage. The more Battle Spirit points spent, the stronger the effects. Charged attacks on the blazing cycle benefit the most, but normal attacks are also viable. Sub-DPS role highlights off-field damage via the ring. AoE pyro damage and buffs active characters by up to 40% attack for 20 seconds, gradually diminishing. Upon activating her burst, Mavuika also gains a 30% attack boost for 10 seconds. To use this ability more frequently, it's recommended to have another Natlan character in the team. Main DPS role highlights. Most of her damage comes from her burst and enhanced charged attacks on the blazing cycle. Her burst also buffs her normal attacks while riding the cycle, allowing for flexible playstyles. Mavuika doesn't rely on shields, as her burst provides interruption resistance during its buff. Mavuika is a versatile character who can adapt to any role depending on your preferences and team composition. Rotation playing Mavuika is straightforward and efficient thanks to her flexible mechanics. Use her quick elemental skill to activate the ring, which deals damage, consumes Night Spirit points, and generates Battle Spirit. Switch to other characters to activate buffs and debuffs, enhancing the team's overall damage output. Activate her Elemental Burst, which automatically puts her on the blazing cycle, ready for immediate action. For sub-DPS, the rotation is similar, except that after activating her burst, switch to your main DPS to maximize the buff effects from Battle Spirit. In both roles, the core rotation involves skill usage, buff-debuff application, burst activation, and optimal damage distribution. Talent prioritization. The order of talent leveling depends on Mavuika's role. Main DPS, prioritize Elemental Burst as it's her main source of damage. Next, level up Elemental Skill to enhance blazing cycle damage and Battle Spirit generation. Normal attacks can be ignored, as they don't significantly impact her damage output. Sub-DPS. Focus on Elemental Skill as it handles off-field damage. Then level up Elemental Burst for stronger buffs and additional damage. Normal attacks are unnecessary for this role. Skill prioritization directly depends on Mavuika's role in your team. Artifacts main DPS. Recommended sets. Obsidian Codex. Increases crit rate by 40% and damage by 15%. This is the best set for main DPS, Twilight Court Hunter. Works well in teams with Farina, as her abilities enhance this set. Mixed sets. a temporary option while farming for the optimal artifacts. Stat prioritization. O Sands, ATK %, or Elemental Mastery, depending on weapon and team composition. O Goblet, Pyro damage bonus. O Circlet, crit damage or crit rate. Sub DPS, recommended sets. O Burning City Scroll, a universal option that works in any team, even if another character already uses this set. O Obsidian Codex is less effective for sub DPS as it requires Mavuika to stay on field. Stat prioritization. O same as for main DPS. ATK % or Elemental Mastery. Sands, Pyro damage bonus. Goblet, crit damage or crit rate. Circlet. Best weapons for Mavuika. For main DPS. 5-star swords. Signature weapon. The Undisputed Leader, fully unlocking Mavuika's potential as a main DPS. Alternatives. Redhorn Stone Thresher. Wolf's Gravestone. The Unforged Fang of the Mountain King Beacon of the Reed Sea. The Serpent Spine. These swords are inferior to the signature weapon, but still remain strong options. 4-star swords. Mailed Flower, event exclusive. Perfectly suited for vaporize or melt reaction builds. Tidal Shadow. Effective but requires Furina and a healer in the team to ensure stable activation of its bonuses. Rain Slasher. An excellent choice for vaporize reaction builds, surpassing many other 4-star swords. Craftable Natlan Sword. A universal and straightforward option, especially for sub-DPS builds. Although it doesn't match the power of 5-star swords, it remains one of the best options among 4-star swords for this role. Weapon stats to prioritize. Swords with crit damage, crit rate, ATK, and elemental mastery are the top priorities. For sub-DPS, Dragonbone Sword. O as a sub-DPS weapon, it may be ineffective because it requires specific conditions to activate its bonuses. Craftable Natlan Sword, Earthshaker. The best budget option for sub-DPS. It doesn't require complex conditions and provides consistent off-field damage. For main DPS, the signature weapon is the best choice. If unavailable, select swords that prioritize crit stats, ATK, or elemental mastery, depending on the team composition. For sub-DPS, the craftable Natlan Sword is the optimal choice due to its efficiency, versatility, and ease of use. Teams with Mavuika as main DPS. Mavuika synergizes well with top-tier supports such as Kazuha, Furina, Bennett, and Shellenin. However, to fully unleash her potential, it's crucial to include Natlan characters in the team who consume Night Spirit and help build up Battle Spirit. Optimal team composition. Mavuika, main DPS. Shellenin, Natlan, sub-DPSR support. Sitlael, energy support and reactions. Bennett, ATK buff and healing. Advantages. High frequency of random reactions. Mavuika consistently triggers melt reactions with her elemental burst, her strongest attack. Charged attacks during flame cycle after her burst also trigger reactions, dealing massive damage. Tip: before using Mavuika's burst, activate Sitlael after Bennett to ensure a melt reaction. Alternative team composition. Mavuika, main DPS. Furina replaces Sitlael for support through reactions. Shellenin, Natlan character. Bennett, healing and buffs. Teams without Sitlael and Shellenin. If the above characters are unavailable, consider Auroron, Kachina, or Pyro Traveler. Example teams. Mavuika, Auroron, Sucrose, Bennett, Overload and Explosion reactions. Mavuika, Pyro Traveler, Sucrose, Bennett. Pyro Traveler can replace any Natlan character as they also consume Night Spirit points and help Mavuika regain Battle Spirit. Teams with Mavuika as sub-DPS. Even as a sub-DPS, Mavuika remains a versatile character capable of delivering significant off-field damage and providing buffs to active characters. Optimal Natlan characters. Kinich. Mavuika can use the Hero Scroll artifact set in Kinich's team. Burning reactions might reduce the scroll's effectiveness, but Mavuika's personal buffs compensate for this limitation. Mualani. Mavuika's elemental burst buffs are a great addition to Mualani's team. Chaska. Chaska benefits from having multiple elements in the team, but using 2 pyro characters, AG, Bennett, and Mavuika, remains effective. Mavuika's buffs compensate for Chaska's passive damage losses. Other options. Mavuika as a sub-DPS works well in any team with another Natlan character. where her off-field pyro damage and buffs enhance the active character's performance. Example team: Mavuika, Kazuha, Bennett, Farina. As a main DPS, Mavuika shines in teams with strong buffers and Natlan characters who help consume Night Spirit. As a sub-DPS, she remains a flexible and valuable character who fits well in a variety of team compositions, particularly with Natlan heroes. Mavuika is a universal and versatile character capable of excelling as both a main DPS and a sub-DPS. She can deal impressive damage as the team leader or provide strong off-field support with damage and buffs. However, for Mavuika to fully realize her potential, having at least one Natlan character in the team or her first constellation is essential. This requirement holds true for both her roles. Mavuika especially shines in teams with Natlan characters, where she becomes a key player, supporting them or leading the squad. She's almost indispensable for most Natlan heroes. Share in the comments how you feel about the Pyro Archon. Has she met your expectations? And can she be considered the new meta breaker? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. I really appreciate it.